Whatever you do, do not let him lick the chainsaw. Guys, today we are modeling this grotesque chainsaw-wielding clown minion from the new Minions and Monsters movie. And the craziest part? I built him using basically one tool, the Blender Skin Modifier. Welcome to a topology nerd's worst nightmare. We have a fully procedural tongue made from just 3 vertices that can stretch and twist, procedural teeth, steampunk goggles, giant clown shoes, a massive chainsaw, and the main attraction, a tactical green thong with cute little bows. And yes, every single piece is generated by the skin modifier. Hide your kids, but more importantly, hide your topology teachers. By the way, you can download this exact project file on my Gumroad. Link is in the pinned comment. Let's make some magic. Let's start with the tongue. Watch my hands closely. Add a plane, jump into edit mode, press M and merge to center. Extrude twice. Boom, 3 vertices. Add a mirror modifier, then the skin modifier. If it glitches out, just select an end vertex and hit mark root. Now, use our magic spell. Ctrl+A, then X or Y to scale it non-uniformly. Add a subdivision modifier on top and look at that. It already looks like a tongue. Or a coffee bean. Grab your coffee, guys. Now let's bend it. I'll add a Simple Deform modifier, set it to bend, and tweak the angle. Now it curls. To get crazy with it, I'll add an empty object and use it as the origin for the Simple Deform. If I move the empty, the tongue whips around like crazy. Let's take it further. Duplicate the Simple Deform, change it to twist on the y-axis. Duplicate it again and set it to stretch. We literally just built a parametrically rigged tongue with infinite degrees of freedom using 3 vertices. If you haven't dropped a like yet, what are we even doing here? If the tongue took 3 vertices, the teeth will take exactly 3 vertices too. I'll model a single tooth with the skin modifier, add an array modifier with 10 copies, and use the exact same Simple Deform trick with an empty object. Now we can bend the entire row of teeth into a perfect smile, or even a full circle. I should definitely model a shark next using this workflow. Alright, let's drag these fresh teeth over to our reference model on the left for a quick dental checkup. Ah, perfect fit. By the way, keeping your finished concept open in a split viewport is a massive workflow hack. It keeps you motivated and ensures you never get lost staring at a blank screen. But hey, speaking of teeth, let's pan the camera over here. Look at the teeth on this thing. Now these are some impressive, highly dangerous teeth. If you think the minion's face is crazy, just wait until you see how we build this absolute monster of a chainsaw using the exact same skin modifier tricks. So do not click away, the best is yet to come. But before we arm our clown with a deadly weapon, we need to give him some proper style. Let's move down to the floor and build those goofy clown shoes. And yes, they are made of skin. Try not to think about it too much. For the sole, I'm using my signature modifier sandwich. Skin, followed by a subdivision on Simple, and another subdivision on Catmull Clark. This keeps the edges of the sole sharp and flat while keeping the rest smooth. I was once a clown's assistant and kept tripping over his giant shoes. Consider this my revenge. Do you guys have a fear of clowns? Let me know in the comments. Honestly, I only care about the exterior silhouette here. I have absolutely no idea what clowns hide inside these giant shoes. And frankly, I don't want to know. But this is exactly why the Skin Modifier is the ultimate blocking tool. You don't have to worry about internal geometry or clean topology at all. You just push a few vertices until the outside looks goofy enough and you're good to go. Now, time to bring back an absolute channel classic, my patented 4-vertex Skin Modifier donut. If you watched my car or spellbook tutorials, you know I use this shape for literally everything. Today, we're using them as the eyelets for the shoelaces. Adding tiny hard surface details like this over an organic mesh instantly makes your 3D design look 10 times more expensive. For the laces themselves, I'm using the exact same trick. I extrude a line and flatten it using our magic spell Ctrl+A and then X or Y. You guys remember that one, right? But I am not going to tie them into proper knots here. We have some epic ribbon bows coming up later on his underwear, and we are going to go completely crazy there. I gotta pace myself, guys. I don't want to burn out too early in the tutorial. Time for a little circus trick. My TikTok comments are always flooded with people asking how I pick these cool random viewport colors. Well, here is my highly advanced, deeply technical method. I literally just spam Shift+D to duplicate the object until Blender randomly generates a color I like. And then I delete the rest. Pure lazy genius. Work smarter, not harder. By the way, if you are one of the thousands of people who didn't know this feature existed, just go up to the Viewport shading menu and change the color setting to random. It's an absolute lifesaver for seeing all your intersecting skin objects clearly. But for now, I'm going to switch the shading mode from random back to material. I always set up custom viewport display colors in my materials so the scene looks nice and clean while I work, without frying my computer with full renders. Look at those shiny clown shoes. Time for the iconic goggles. Has anyone ever seen a minion without them? If you Google it, it is absolute nightmare fuel. How to unsee it is literally a meme. So for public safety, I am building the eyes directly into the goggles. Do not separate them. You have been warned. Let's build it. I'll start with a 12-vertex circle. I'm going to stack a bunch of modifiers here. Think of the Skin Modifier as the main boss, like Gru, doing all the heavy lifting, and the other modifiers are just the minions helping out. I'll rotate the circle 15 degrees so the end vertices align perfectly on the vertical axis. Select them, hit Shift+S, choose Cursor to Selected, and then go to Object, Set Origin to 3D Cursor. By the way, if you can't see your origins, here's the menu where you turn on the Origin Visibility overlay. Now add a Mirror modifier. Make sure Merge is checked so the two halves weld together seamlessly into one solid frame. Time for the ultimate modifier sandwich. We need subdivision, then skin, then another subdivision on simple, and one more subdivision on Catmull Clark. I'll duplicate this base shape a few times, tweaking the proportions to create the frames. Hit Ctrl+A and use X or Y to scale the thickness non-uniformly. For the eye and the pupil, I'll just use a flattened donut shape. But a minion needs industrial rivets, otherwise these just look like swimming goggles. I'll simply duplicate a single vertex, scale it down, and snap it around the frame. Add a leather strap, also made of skin, and the design is done. Here's the problem. Human, or minion, heads are round, but our goggles are flat. To make them sit flush against the face, we use the Lattice modifier. Add a lattice object. Now here is a weird Blender quirk that always messes with my brain. You must scale the lattice to fit your object in object mode, not edit mode. I always get associative dissonance here, but trust me on this. Adjust the grid resolution in the lattice properties. Then select the goggles, add a lattice modifier, and use the eyedropper to pick our lattice box. Now, when we jump into edit mode on the lattice, we can grab the control points and smoothly bend this complex hard surface mesh to wrap perfectly around his face. Play around with this tool, it is incredibly powerful. Drop your conspiracy theories in the comments. Why do minions wear these? Are they welding masks? Genetic limiters? Let me know. Alright, time to move south. We need to build his lower half, specifically his behind, so we actually have something to put this thong on. Let's get to it. Alright, 5 vertices later and we have a solid lower body. Now we actually have something to put clothes on. And by clothes, I mean the most important piece of equipment in this entire tutorial, the tactical green thong. Let's build it. I'll add an 8 vertex circle, an octagon, and throw the skin modifier on it. I'll duplicate this ring. The top one will be the waistband with the bows, and the bottom one will become the actual fabric of the thong. To shape the fabric, I go into Edit mode, hit our favorite shortcut Ctrl+A, and scale it non-uniformly on the X and Y axes until it flattens out perfectly. Now let's make the bows on the sides. But right now they look flat and boring. Time for another circus trick. To make the bows look like real folded ribbons, select all the bow vertices in edit mode and simply rotate them on the X or Y axis by about 30 to 45 degrees. Watch closely. The skin geometry literally twists inside out, giving us a highly realistic curved fabric fold. I did a deep dive into this exact skin modifier twisting trick in my Pomni tutorial, so definitely go watch that video if you want to master this tool. Okay, here is the real challenge. With a highly specialized piece of clothing like a tactical green thong, we need a perfect fit. We cannot risk any wardrobe malfunctions here. If you saw the movie trailer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We are not Illumination Studios, so we're not joking around with this physics simulation. To solve this serious problem, I'm going to use the Shrinkwrap modifier. I add it to our thong fabric, grab the eyedropper for the target field, and click on the minion's body. I'll change the wrap method to target normal project. But wait, right now the fabric is clipping into his skin. To fix this, I'll slightly increase the offset value so it doesn't pinch him too hard. But we can make it even better. Let's head over to the Object Data Properties tab and click the plus icon to create a new vertex group. In edit mode, I select all the vertices of the thong, set the weight slider to around 0.76 and hit assign. Now go back to the Shrinkwrap modifier, and in the vertex group field, select our new group. Look at that, the thong slightly peels away from the body, but perfectly hugs the overall shape. To make it buttery smooth, just add one more subdivision modifier after the Shrinkwrap. The best part? By selecting individual vertices in edit mode and tweaking their specific group weights, you can fine-tune exactly how tightly the fabric grips every single part of his geometry. Absolute space-age technology just to model a minion speedo. Alright, now that we have the ultimate tactical thong, it's time to actually put this masterpiece on its feet. Literally. We already built those giant clown shoes with the leg attached earlier, so let's just drag one over here. Now, I want his legs to bend easily, so I'm not going to physically connect the leg mesh to the body, but I want the seam to look completely smooth. Here is the secret sauce, the data transfer modifier. I add it to the leg, check face corner data, select custom normals, and set mapping to nearest face interpolated. Then, in edit mode, I select the top two vertices of the leg, create a vertex group, and set the weight to 1. Finally, in the modifier, I select that vertex group, grab the eyedropper, and smack it right onto the minion's body. Look at that! The leg shading now perfectly blends into the body, no matter the lighting or angle. Pure magic. I'll just duplicate this leg, mirror it to the other side, and look, it instantly blends perfectly right out of the box. Just a quick warning, make sure those two vertices with a weight of 1 are pushed deep enough inside the main body mesh, otherwise the illusion breaks. Now, having half a minion is cool, but a whole minion is probably better. Let's jump into edit mode and just press E to extrude the top half of his capsule body. Now we have somewhere to attach his arms. And because we are lazy, I'm absolutely not building those from scratch. I'll just copy one of the legs, since it already has the data transfer modifier and vertex weights perfectly set up, rotate it, transform it into a skinny arm, and mirror it to the other side. Work smarter, guys. For the gloves, I build the shape using skin and subdiv. Once the shape is right, I click Create Armature in the Skin modifier. It automatically generates a skeleton with perfect weights. I just jump into pose mode and curl his fingers so he can grip the chainsaw. Alright, so now we have a pill-shaped body equipped with arms, legs, giant clown shoes, and of course, the tactical green thong. But honestly, looking at this blank capsule is making me uncomfortable. Does a minion even have a head? Or is it just one giant neck? Where do they even come from? You know what, don't answer that. Let's just put his goggles on. I'll bring over the goggles and eyes we made earlier, scale them up, and tweak the lattice modifier points one more time in edit mode just to make sure they sit perfectly flush against his cylinder. Now let's give him that chaotic clown hair. If you watch my melting candle tutorial, you already know the secret here. I'm going to model this wig exactly the same way I modeled the fire. A flaming red wig for a psycho clown makes perfect sense. I create a simple line with just 4 or 5 vertices. Add the skin modifier, then a subdivision. Next, I add a Displace modifier. I create a new texture, set the type to clouds, and change it from grayscale to color. Back in the Displace modifier, I set the direction to RGB to XYZ, and slap one more subdivision modifier at the very end of the stack. Play around with the texture size and strength until it looks wild. But here is where the skin modifier becomes an absolute cheat code. To control which parts of the hair get distorted, traditional modelers would go into weight paint mode and manually paint thousands of polygons. We are too lazy for that. In edit mode, I just create a new vertex group. Because our base mesh is literally 5 vertices, I just select the tip vertex and the base vertex, assign them a lower weight, like 0.2, and let the skin modifier automatically interpolate the weights across the entire high poly mesh. It takes 5 seconds. And of course, we can't forget the clown nose. I'm going all out and spinning a massive 3 vertices on this. But if you saw the movie trailer, you know this nose tends to fall off. We need a strap to hold it in place. I could model a new string from scratch, but I'm lazy. I'm literally going to go down to his tactical green thong, duplicate the waistband string, move it up to his face, and wrap it around his head. Reduce, reuse, recycle, guys. We love an eco-friendly workflow. Just parent the nose to the string and we are good to go. Let's build this guy a mouth. I start with a 6 vertex hexagon to form the lips, using our trusty skin sandwich. Now if you look at my modifier stack, you might notice a disabled Shrinkwrap modifier sitting there. Honestly, I tried to use it to wrap the lips automatically around his capsule body, but it was acting way too unpredictable. Sometimes, just manually grabbing 6 vertices and moving them yourself is 10 times faster than fighting an algorithm. The lazy skin method wins again. I'll duplicate these lips and move them over to the side so we can build his entire throat assembly in peace. Let's bring in the tongue and the teeth we made earlier. I'll duplicate the teeth to create a top and bottom row, rotate them, and scale them to fit. Now, here's a crucial technical tip. Because our teeth and tongue are driven by Simple Deform modifiers attached to empty objects, you must parent those empties to the meshes. If you don't, the moment you move the mouth, the deformation will completely break and explode. Keep your empties parented, guys. But what's behind the teeth? Just an empty void? No, we need a throat. I'll simply duplicate the tongue and it's empty, move it back, and in edit mode, pull the vertices around until it looks like, I don't even know, an open wallet? A weird sack? Remember that lattice modifier trick we used for the goggles? I told you it would come in handy again. I'll drop a lattice on this wallet and mold it perfectly to fit the back of the lips. Guys, we literally just built a fully parametric flexible mouth cavity out of 3 vertices. This workflow is completely illegal. Alright, time to perform surgery. How do we stuff this giant mouth inside a solid minion? I'll build a cutter object, just a rounded cube made with the skin modifier, wrapped in its own lattice. I'll position this cutter right where the mouth should be on the minion's body. Now I add a Boolean modifier to the main body and select our cutter object. To actually see what we are doing, select the cutter, go to Object Properties, and change Viewport Display from Solid to Wire. Boom! We just cut a massive hole in his face. Now I'll just grab our entire assembled mouth, shove it right into the hole, and tweak the cutter's lattice points so the hole fits the lips perfectly. And the absolute best part about this? The lips act as a perfect frame to hide any messy, chaotic geometry that the Boolean modifier left behind. What happens under the lips stays under the lips. Clean topology is an illusion anyway. Alright, now that we've equipped our Psycho Clown with a combat-ready throat, we are legally obligated to give him a proper tool for the job. Enter the second toothy monster of this tutorial, the chainsaw. I modeled this massive chainsaw using the exact same skin modifier workflow. Honestly, the process is mostly just blocking out cylinders, donuts, and parametric gears, so I compressed it into a quick 2-minute highlight reel for you right here. But if you are a hardcore modeling nerd and want to study the exact step-by-step process, I actually uploaded the full uncut time-lapse of this chainsaw build on my channel a few days ago. I'll put a card up in the top right corner so you can check it out later. Now, before we hand this weapon of mass destruction over to our maniac, we need to make sure it actually works. We don't want it jamming during his big circus performance, right? I'm going to need a brave volunteer from the audience to act as my assistant. Just kidding. Let's just test it on the desk. Let's pull the ripcord and fire up this engine. I'll select the chainsaw teeth, go to the transform panel, and in the x-axis field, I'll type our magic engine starter, #frame times 0.1. Hit play, and it's alive! The teeth are spinning flawlessly with 0 keyframes. Now absolutely nothing can stop this minion. So how did I put this maniac into such a dynamic pose? Honestly, I was way too lazy to do the whole process twice on camera, so let's just do a quick high-level breakdown of the magic. I created one giant master lattice modifier. I bound the main body and all those complex mouth elements to it. The tongue, the teeth, the lips, the Boolean cutter, and yes, even their individual sublattices. Then, in edit mode, I simply grabbed the points of this master lattice and warped his entire torso into that aggressive, curved stance. Now notice what is missing. The arms, legs, wig, goggles, and nose are not participating in this lattice circus. Why? Because they are separate objects. There is absolutely no reason to warp and distort perfectly good hard surface goggles. I simply moved them into their final positions after the body was fully posed. As for the chainsaw, I took his rigged gloves, snapped them perfectly onto the chainsaw handles, and positioned the entire weapon next to his body. And since his arms are literally just a few vertices inside a skin modifier, I just jumped into edit mode, grabbed the vertices, and bent the arms to connect the body straight to the gloves. Boom, done. When your entire character is made of single lines, posing becomes ridiculously easy. Just look at this absolute menace. I honestly don't know what's more dangerous here, that massive chainsaw or his procedural tongue. I want to hear from you guys. What was your favorite part of this chaotic build? Was it the tactical green thong, the modifier sandwich clown shoes, or the Boolean black hole mouth trick? Drop your answers down in the comments. If you enjoyed this wild topology nightmare and learned a few new tricks, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss our next skin modifier experiment. And remember, if you want to reverse engineer this exact model, the project file is waiting for you on my Gumroad. Stay creative, don't lick any chainsaws, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!